So kindly introduce yourself.
So my name is Nerima Jiwa, and I am a kidney donor.
Right. So who told you the recipient needed a transplant?
Who told me? Who told me
Yes.
the recipient needed a transplant? I can't really remember. I can't remember very well. It's all a fuzz.
Okay.
But I wanna say, I think it's my mom. I think it's my mom after she found out that my brother wasn't well and it was pretty serious. So she's the one who broke it to the family.
Okay. How did you feel at the point when you just got the news?
Okay. So when I got the news, first I was the first one to get the news that my brother was in ICU, and so it was very sudden, and it was through a friend, and so my brother didn't want us to know initially, and so when she was telling me, she wasn't sure if she was supposed to tell me, and it's one of those calls that you get at 3 a.m. And I remember going to it, and just from her voice, I could tell that things were not okay. And so she kept repeating, I'm not sure if I should be the one telling you this. He doesn't want you to know. Job's not sure if you should know right now. And I just said, no, just go ahead and just tell me. So when she said it at first, I didn't quite connect. It just seemed like this is intense, and from where? It was so sudden. It was just like a curveball. So I normally panic later. So I was just very stoic. And I remember now going to tell my sister first, because I was in the house. I had to debate between telling my sister or my parents. And I felt, being a younger sister, it should come from the older sister going to the parents. So I remember going to my sister's room. And now it's when I told it to her, because I was also very I don't know, very non-emotional. And so when I told it to her and it hitting her, it now hit me. And so it was the shock, the sadness, and then because he was so far away, we just felt so like, oh my gosh, like we want to be next to you, but no, we can't be next to him. So I would say the initial feeling was just a lot of confusion. How did this happen? And then it moved to shock, and then it moved to a bit of fear and uncertainty, and then it moved to what can we do? How do we get to him? So those were the initial feelings.
Okay. So why did you decide to donate a kidney?
I don't think it was a choice. Honestly, when found out that kidney was needed, it was like, okay, I'm not living this life without my brother. So it was one of those things where we are very close. We've always been close. And so the first thing that came to my mind was, of course, I'm donating, because how am I going to go through life without this other person in my life? So it was just very automatic for me. And I felt that it would be the convincing of the family that it's me, the third born, because you come from a family where you have your parents and then your older brother, your older sister. So it's sort of like a step by step before it comes to you. And so I was like, how am I going to convince everyone that I'm ready? Like, this is something I want to do, even though he's the sibling right after me. So yeah, I was ready.
Thank you for that. How did you feel when you first saw the recipient post-transplant?
So after surgery, I remember we were not in the same room. My ICU station was completely different from his. So my brother's was in HDU, and then I kept asking, the nurses, the doctors, and when our parents would come, I'd be like, how is Job? How is he? Where is he? Can I go see him? Like, I kept asking. And so the doctor finally said, yeah, you can come. If you can, you'll have to walk, because there's a point where the bed couldn't go. If you're ready to walk, you can come see him. I said, yeah, I'm ready. So they wheeled me as far as they could. And then it was probably like a few hours after surgery. And then so they wheeled me to as far as they could, and then they're like, from this point you have to walk. And so I remember struggling to get out of the bed and walking very slowly and looking through this small like window because he couldn't come out. And so the nurses who are going in were they were wearing very protective gear. So it was very sensitive. So I remember looking at that window and knocking on it through that hole, and he was actually just sitting there and watching TV. And so he looks at me, and the look on his face was like, "What are you doing here? Are you out of bed?" And the look was, "You are crazy. You're crazy." And I remember smiling, and I was so excited, and I was like, we did it. So for me, I was so happy that it was successful and he was okay on the other side.
So, what Bible verse, quote, mantra, saying encouraged you through the donation process?
The Bible verse, I think there were two, because Joshua 1:9 was the one that we kept reciting on being brave and courageous, for God is with you. But then the one that I really identified with, I can't tell you the verse, but I know it's in the book of John. And it's about love. For where there is love, there is no fear. Because I remember having no fear throughout the entire process and remembering this is actual love, where you're willing to put yourself on the line for someone that you love, and all fear and insecurities just dissipate.
So, to close off, we'd like to, have a fun question. So, do you consider yourself a heroine? And what does a heroine or a hero look like to you?
Wow, okay, it's interesting. So I'm someone who really likes DC comics, and my favorite hero is Batman. It has always been, only because he chose with his wealth to fight crime, and he lives this double life of not people really knowing that he's a hero, and a lot of people, when they see him, his first impression is that he's a douchebag. And so for me, a hero is someone who is not even seen. It's someone who is part of you, and you wouldn't even give them a second thought. And so they are everyday people who do amazing things, and then they don't have to show that I am the hero of this story. Do you know who I am? So there are those people who just do good because they want to do good and they choose to do good. Yeah, and I believe I am that person. So a lot of people, first impression, would not think I've donated or I'm interested in encouraging people to donate and the work that I do. So I get a lot of that, where people underestimate or have a different perception of me until they get to know me and they're like, oh wow, they are completely different from what I thought you were. That's a hero.